Allen Lund Company, 47 years young and a proud sponsor, wishes OOIDA all the best as you celebrate 50 years.
OOIDA, representing America's truckers since 1973, presents Landline Now with your host, Mark Reddick.
Autonomous vehicles and autonomous trucks are coming to a road near you, whether you like it or not. But before it happens on a large scale, some important questions need to be answered. From the insurance implications of autonomous vehicles to the safety problems we're already seeing, Tyson Fisher of Landline Magazine joins us to talk about the unseen costs of autonomous technology. From a federal agency late on an important deadline to a state adding truck parking in an area with none, S.J. Munoz and Ryan Witkowski will tell us who in recent news has been good and who's been bad with some roses and raspberries. And finally, this fall, voters in Maine will decide on a proposed right-to-repair law. I'll speak with Mike Harris of FleetPride, a supporter of the initiative in Maine, about what's on the ballot and the issues behind it. But first, the news with Ashley Blackford.
Thanks, Mark. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration is considering waivers for the California and Washington meal and rest break rules that were issued in 2018 and 2020. In a document that's set to publish on Monday in the Federal Register, FMCSA provided notice that the agency will consider petitions for waiver of its decisions preempting the state of California's meal and rest break rules for certain drivers of property and passenger carrying commercial motor vehicles, and its decision preemption the state of Washington's MRB rules for certain drivers of property carrying CMVs. FMCSA is requesting that any petitions for waiver be submitted by November 13th of this year. It will then publish any petitions for waiver that it receives and will provide an opportunity for public comment. A special investigation by the U.S. auto safety regulators has been opened into a fatal accident that happened in Virginia last month. The crash involved a Tesla Model Y, which was suspected of relying on advanced driver assistance systems when it hit a tractor-trailer. Reuters reports that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is probing the July 19th fatal crash. According to the Fauquier County Sheriff's Office, the 57-year-old Tesla driver was pronounced dead at the scene after the tractor-trailer was attempting to turn onto a highway from a truck stop. The car struck the side and went underneath the tractor-trailer. According to the report, the driver of the truck was issued a summons for reckless driving. This isn't the first investigation into a fatal Tesla crash. According to reports last month, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg declined to offer an update on the status of the Tesla Autopilot investigation, but told Reuters that they're moving as quickly as they responsibly can. The Canadian Trucking Alliance is once again urging the Government of Canada to crack down on employers in the trucking sector who operate under the scheme known as Driver Inc. The alliance says the scheme robs truck drivers of their rights under the Labour Code. Recently, the Canadian government announced a recognized employer pilot aimed at labor shortages and protecting employees, such as temporary foreign workers, from workplace abuse. The alliance praised the announcement but is urging Ottawa to do more. In a release, CTA said the introduction to this program is a positive step in beginning to address labor shortages and reducing red tape for recognized employers, but they said the pilot's effectiveness in protecting foreign workers from abuse in the trucking sector will rely upon the criteria being used to qualify as a recognized employer and must be supported by a rigorous audit and oversight regime to ensure its intended outcomes are achieved. An emergency order in Vermont has been extended through August 24th. Last month, officials enacted an executive order with flooding heavily impacting the state. Motor carriers and drivers providing direct assistance to the storm and flooding emergency in Vermont are granted relief from the maximum driving time for property-carrying vehicle requirements. Intrastate and interstate commerce on state roads as well as interstate roads are covered under this emergency declaration extension. The city of Houston, Texas, has released its Vision Zero annual report for 2022. Traffic deaths were down slightly from 331 in 2021 to 323 in 2022. According to the report, this is the first time the city has seen a reduction in crashes since the start of the Vision Zero program. The most frequent contributing factors of traffic deaths and serious injuries in Houston have been consistent since 2014 and continued in 2022. Those are speeding, impaired driving, unsafe driving maneuvers, and disregarding traffic signs and signals. Of these factors, speeding was indicated in over 30% of both serious injury and fatal crashes. You could soon have to pay more to cross 7 bridges in San Francisco. The California Assembly Transportation Committee has voted to advance a Senate-approved bill to increase toll rates on state-owned Bay Area bridges. Specifically, the bill would authorize a $1.50 toll increase for 5 years to benefit public transit. Senator Scott Wiener says toll revenue would be used to provide public transportation funding to avoid service cuts. He adds that toll revenue would also help address safety, cleanliness, and reliability of transit services. The toll increase would be implemented in January of 2024 and run through December of 2028. An estimated $180 million annually is anticipated to aid transit operators in the region that are experiencing a financial shortfall. The Texas Department of Transportation is looking for public input on a system that will be a major connection for interstates and highways. According to local news channels, Texas DOT wants stakeholders and the public to provide feedback while it moves forward with developments of the implementation strategy and plan for the Ports to Plains system. Officials say the Ports to Plains system is expected to be a 963-mile corridor that will connect 4 interstates, 24 state highways, and 17 U.S. highways in an effort to enhance rural connectivity across the state. Currently, approximately 124 miles of the system have been designated and signed as I-27 in Texas from I-40 in Amarillo to State Highway Loop 289 on the south side of Lubbock. To find the survey and to see an interactive map of the project, you can visit txdot.mysocialpinpoint.com/port-2-plains. Pennsylvania's Department of Transportation has made some upgrades to its 511 PA system. The 511 PA traffic map now includes a PennDOT Bridges feature, which shows locations for all state-owned bridges posted with weight or other limits, along with closed bridges. This expands on the existing feature of locations for all bridges under legal height over state roads, which was previously added in December of 2021. This information can be viewed on the web map and is also available as an alert that can be heard in drive mode on the mobile app. To view the map, you can visit 511pa.com or by downloading the 511PA app for iPhone and Android devices. And finally, a dog that went missing 3 years ago was reunited with its owners. UPI reports that a couple in Little Rock, Arkansas lost their 2 pit bulls named Jack and Jill when they disappeared from their backyard in July of 2020. The family searched, put up flyers, posted on social media, but never had any luck finding their dogs. They eventually moved to McKinney, Texas, never expecting to see their dogs again. But last month, they received a call from the Little Rock Animal Village with news that Jill had been found thanks to a microchip. The couple told news outlets that it's like she's never left. They picked up right where they left off 3 years ago. The family is renewing their search for Jack in hopes that he might be in the same neighborhood where Jill was picked up. That's Landline Now News for today. I'm Ashley Blackford.
Thanks, Ashley. Next, Tyson Fisher of Landline Magazine joins us to talk about the unseen costs of autonomous technology. S.J. Munoz and Ryan Witkowski will bring us some Roses and Razzberries, and I'll discuss Maine's right-to-repair ballot issue with Mike Harris of FleetPride. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
For Katniss accuracy, weigh your truck on a cat scale.
When you weigh on a cat scale, you get a no excuses guarantee. You can now save time weighing by using your smartphone. Find out more at weightmytruck.com.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one. That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
And we're back. There's no question that we're entering a new era in trucking. Autonomous vehicles and autonomous trucks are coming, whether we like it or not, with promises of safer roadways and a more carefree driving experience. But the current facts suggest that scenario may be a ways off. Tyson Fisher of Landline Magazine recently took a look at the current self-driving landscape with a focus on safety and joins us now with what he found. Tyson, how you doing?
Pretty good. Thank you for having me.
So this is obviously a big issue, an important issue that we're going to be talking about for years to come. I'm curious to start here. What prompted you to take a closer look at it?
Sure. There's been a lot of chatter about autonomous vehicles recently, both at the state and federal level. For example, there's a bill in California that requires a human to be present in an autonomous vehicle testing situation, which is a pretty big deal. That's regardless of the level of autonomy. So even if it's technically a fully self-driving vehicle, you're still going to have a human in there. And at the federal level, the government seeking input on a variety of topics related to autonomous vehicles. So point being is we are at a transition point where we are getting closer to truly self-driving vehicles. However, there's a lot of anxiety among the general public when you bring up driverless vehicles in their area. And so safety has a lot to do with it. We just don't have the data yet.
Yeah, and we don't know. I mean, we think we might know, but we have really no idea what this is going to look like when all of these self-driving vehicles are on the roadways, if we even get to that point. You brought up safety there. And just to be clear, there are no truly self-driving vehicles on the roads right now, right? Just
Correct.
Vehicles with driver assist technology. Tesla comes to mind, and it's probably the biggest example there. But even then, even with this future that is uncertain in our current state, we're seeing a lot of safety issues pop up, and it seems like they're popping up all the time.
Right. Just to clarify, there are 6 levels of autonomous vehicles, levels 0 to 5. Currently, the highest level of autonomy commercially available on the roads is level 2. And that's not very high.
Yeah.
And that includes the Tesla vehicles that you were talking about. When it comes to safety, Tesla vehicles, they have been a prime target for autonomous vehicle critics because, number one, its automated system is called the full self-driving system, which is insanely inaccurate and misleading, to say the least. And number two, and maybe perhaps because of that misleading name, Tesla vehicles have been involved in several, high-profile fatal crashes. I can list some off for you right now. Just in February this year, a Tesla driver was pronounced dead after crashing into a parked fire truck. Last July, 2 people were killed in a Tesla car crash, this time a parked tractor trailer. I know over the past several years, there's been several of those situations where they're not just crashing into something, they're crashing into stationary objects,
Yeah.
So that kind of tells you where we are with self-driving technology. But Tesla was also criticized for a video game feature that was included in the software. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that. They took it away, right?
They took it away,
Okay.
but at first it was essentially a passenger had the option of playing a video game on Tesla's giant screen that they have there. The only problem was that the software didn't know who was, playing the game. So, so technically or theoretically, the driver could be playing a video game while the car is in motion. And it's just little things like that really drives the general public crazy in terms of safety and whether or not this is a good idea yet. But, it's just a small sample of level 2 vehicles causing significant safety issues. And that's level 2, but we want to talk about level 4. And to me, I think we're jumping ahead a little too far right now.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, if you remember, Elon Musk recently talked about AI, artificial intelligence, and that there maybe needed to be a moratorium on, advances and things until they kind of got a better understanding of where that thing could lead. I'm not necessarily saying that should be the case here with, automated vehicles, but you do wonder you do wonder where this is all headed and what oversight and what regulations are going to look like here as we get further and further down the road. Because if these crashes continue happening, that anxiety that you mentioned there among the general public about autonomous vehicles, while they may sound really cool, there are genuine concerns out there about what it's going to look like when you don't just have one vehicle that's in autonomous mode out on the roads, but you've got 2 or 3 or 4 or dozens. I mean, what's that going to look like? So I don't know what that looks like, but there will clearly have to be oversight and regulation with all this.
For sure. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now at the state level. So at the state level, we're seeing rules being made on what, especially in those where the testing is involved. Texas, California, Arizona, these are states that are heavily testing these autonomous vehicles. So we're seeing some regulation that way. Federal level, not so much yet. There's just so many questions that need to be answered. So we're seeing panel after panel, committee after committee, looking at this situation and saying, what do we need to do? Because there's so many questions that we don't have the answers to. And it's kind of problematic when we want to do something with them on the road.
Yeah, and we're not going to have those answers until we kind of get to that point. And clearly we're not there yet. And we're trying to figure out where we're headed with all of this.
Right.
There are a lot of questions. One thing you point out in your piece on landline.media and in Landline Magazine is that insuring autonomous vehicles is going to be quite tricky. That question being, how are insurance companies approaching self-driving vehicles now and what that might mean for the future? What does that look like?
That's one of the big questions is the insurance. So I had the opportunity to talk to a representative of CoverWallet to get an idea of how the insurance industry is looking at autonomous vehicles. And the short answer is insurance companies are just not impressed with autonomous vehicles. That's the short answer. Stephen Richler, who is the team lead of trucking and logistics at CoverWallet, he said, if anything, it's a larger risk to deal with autonomous vehicles in light of the loss history. And by loss history, he's talking about all the crashes that I just mentioned, right? So, it's kind of weird because we're at a place where, insurance rates are calculated by compiling and analyzing this tremendous amount of data. It's what the insurance companies are based off of. So, for example, insurance is more expensive for teens and those in their early 20s than someone in their 40s. Why? Because a wealth of data from the federal governments prove that they are the least safest drivers out there on the road, right? A Ford Mustang is going to have a higher insurance than a Honda Civic because years of data show that sports cars get in more crashes than family four-door sedans. Insurance rates also vary from state to state and even locally. Why? Because a wealth of data reveals that City A has more break-ins than City B. So it's just, it's a data-driven industry where they come up with their rates. However, since autonomous vehicles are relatively brand new to the market, insurance companies don't have that same massive amount of data as they do with other car types. So, and the data that we do have so far is not very promising.
Yeah.
So therefore, we can expect higher insurance rates for more highly automated vehicles, at least until they've been on the road for several years and we can compile more accurate data. But the data just suggests right now that it could be a risk.
Well, and that's the other wrinkle to this as well, because we're mostly talking about passenger vehicles, I think, for the most part, when we're talking about insurance and these things. You start talking about a semi that's autonomous and may not have a driver in the cab in the future. Then you're talking about all sorts of other concerns and other issues and other problems that could pop up. Again, these are questions we don't have the answers to right now because we're not quite there yet, but they will have to be answered at some point. You ask a lot of valuable questions in your article, such as what happens during interactions between good old-fashioned vehicles that have a driver in the driver's seat and these autonomous vehicles that don't. We don't have answers to that question either. But can you run through some of the scenarios and items that regulators and insurance companies and manufacturers are going to have to think about as they move forward here with the rise of all these autonomous vehicles?
One thing we can talk about is who is responsible for a crash that involves an autonomous vehicle. Is it the manufacturer? Is it the owner of the vehicle? Richler at CoverWallet, he actually painted a scenario where there will be situations where the safety director of a motor carrier can be blamed because, again, if no one's driving the car or if no one's driving the truck, then who is responsible for, its maintenance? Well, it would be the safety director. So if the safety director does all of this checks and inspections on the trucks, if that truck gets in a wreck, then they'll look back. It's like, oh, you missed this on this software. It can come back down to that safety director of the motor carrier.
You're putting so much trust in these companies to keep you and others alive in these scenarios. It's just it boggles the mind because we haven't ever seen anything like it before.
We haven't, and then there's also privacy issues. I mean,
sure.
There are many cameras on autonomous vehicles. So who has access to those cameras? Where is that data going? Again, it's completely separate from insurance, but there are just a myriad of situations to where, obviously autonomous trucks or vehicles are completely unlike anything else we've seen on the road. And so therefore, we just don't have the answers to some of the most basic questions we have with your traditional vehicles.
Yeah, and, getting back to that too, it's these questions that need answers. We're not really getting the answers from these autonomous companies, technology companies, because they're kind of working through the process too.
Right.
Meanwhile, we're seeing more and more trucking companies open up routes, especially in Texas. We talked about this recently, that do have a safety driver in the cab, but they're clearly looking forward to kicking that person out and just having completely autonomous routes, and runs. And again, this thing, it feels like we're moving so fast.
It does.
At this point, and I'm not sure where the safeguards are.
Well, it's interesting. So when it comes to the rolling out of level 4 autonomous vehicles, many industry insiders do believe that over the road long-haul trucking will be the first to roll out because all you have to deal with is just the relatively straight highway, right?
Sure.
You don't have to mess with all the all the variables that are in the city. That being said, there's no one really has any answers as far as what you were talking about with no driver in the seat. There's no state that will currently allow that. At least their state regulations assume there's a driver in the seat. So we have to see more regulations get passed so far at the state level. So we might be in a situation where there would just be a patchwork of regulations and laws when it comes to self-driving vehicles. So where you can drive a self-driving vehicle in Texas, but when you get to Oklahoma, you got to stop and find a driver because they won't allow it.
Could I have help wanted ad or something? How does that work?
Right.
Yeah.
So, again, these are one of the many questions that we have when it comes to this technology, and it's just kind of hard to swing a bat and hit any of them at once.
Yeah, I suppose if you look at the big picture and try to make sense of it, it doesn't make much sense because there's so many unknowns right now. In the near future, though, what we're going to see, I would imagine, is more of these, test routes, test runs in places like Texas, which is pretty open to all of this, and we keep seeing announcement after announcement of companies that are doing this. But that's the short-term future, I suppose, is that we're going to see more of these things, and as you said earlier, more reports of crashes involving some of these.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot more testing. As you pointed out, Texas being the big state that's doing it, I would imagine we're going to see more states get into the game because they don't want to be left behind. When these vehicles start rolling out. I say in the short term, we're going to see more testing. We're going to see more. I guess you could say more collaboration between manufacturers of trucks and the manufacturers of the technology, because usually they're not the same.
Yeah.
So, that's short term. Long term, it's going to be probably at least another 10 years before we'll see a driverless truck commercially
Yeah, that was going to be my
available.
question. Just based on your research and your conversations, you think about 10 years off before we get to kind of the next level, I suppose?
I speculating here, but I say 10 years, and then of course there'll be a large price barrier in way. So the large carriers will be our guinea pigs, and so if they're not safe, it'll be these large carriers that are going to get in trouble, not the small carriers.
Yeah. I mean, just the liability questions alone, as you mentioned earlier, are just astronomical. Tyson's a great piece. I encourage everybody to check it out again in the June issue of Landline Magazine. You can also check it out online at landline.media. Tyson, always a pleasure. We'll see you next time.
See you then.
And Landline Now is back in just a moment.
You trust PrePass for more bypasses? Now let PrePass help with tolls. PrePass toll service means lower cost, one invoice for all tolls, and fewer violations. Created by truckers for truckers. Call 877-878-5970 or go to prepass.com.
Attention all truckers, Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I want to talk to you about those dreaded tax problems. I know you want to keep on trucking and not even think about them, but let's face it, they're not going away all on their own. You need professional help. I've been helping truckers put their tax problems in the rearview mirror for years. I can help you too. Call me now for a free consultation at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com. It's like I always say, keep your eyes on the road, I'll keep mine on the IRS. 888-557-4020.
Landline now. Welcome back. Has your senator or congressman made you happy lately? Did the truck stop make you kind of sad? When they do either one, here at Landline, we have a special way of responding.
Ew.
We call it Roses and Razzberries. Staff writer S.J. Munoz keeps track of such things for Landline Magazine and for our program. S.J. is here now with the good, the bad, and the ugly from recent news.
Hello, everybody. We are back with another edition of Roses and Razzberries. I'm Landline staff writer S.J. Munoz, and joining me is fellow Landline staff writer Ryan Witkowski. Ryan, how's things in your world today?
It's going well. I'm missing Jamie, though, as I look across and see an empty chair.
Well, I need to start things off on a sour note, I see. Well,
I mean, I'm just saying. Now we have to carry the weight.
Yeah, well, we'll do the best we can. There's no promises, but it's a tough job. I think you can pick up the slack just fine. Speaking of a sour note, got some raspberries. Let's jump right into those if you're just okay with that.
Oh, let's rock and roll.
All right, so we'll start with a report that concluded the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration failed to conduct compliance reviews of cross-border carriers on time. That's a bit of a mouthful, but we'll break it down here. As part of the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement Implementation Act, another
Easy
mouthful.
for you to say.
Yeah, geez, we got a lot of tongue twisters here today. But the U.S. DOT's Office of Inspector General conducted an investigation to determine if FMCSA met the requirements in authorizing carriers from Mexico to conduct long-haul trucking operations in the U.S. Whether or not FMCSA monitored carriers to ensure they were operating safely was also part of this investigation. This investigation determined that FMCSA met the requirements for cross-border carriers, but here's the thing, the compliance reviews were not always conducted on time.
What? So they were taking their sweet time to get something done at a government office?
Something like that.
Never heard of that
shocking,
before.
Right? Either way, federal regulations require FMCSA to conduct compliance reviews of Mexico-domiciled carriers within 18 months of provisional operating authority being issued.
So they were given a year and a half and they couldn't get it done?
It seems like an ample amount of time, but for whatever reason, that was not completed in that time. According to this January review, 53 of the 83 Mexican carriers that received authority hadn't been reviewed in the 18 months allotted, and 38 of those 53 hadn't received a compliance review for an average of more than 40 months. So we're pushing 4 years here.
That's a long turnaround
And
time.
actually, in one instance, it's more than 85 months since one carrier had been reviewed.
Oh, I'll keep up the good work, FMCSA.
Well, they actually provided reasons as to this, including COVID-19 pandemic, as to why they failed to meet the requirements. That's kind of in all walks of life, that's a little bit of a fallback here. We just
really
say,
is
blame, when in doubt, blame COVID. The OIG report said, quote, this hinders FMCSA ability to fully assess and mitigate carrier safety risks, resulting in increased risk that unsafe carriers may be operating on the nation's roadways, end of quote. I mean, kind of goes without saying, right?
I'll tell you what. FMCSA needs my wife to be in charge of them. She would have gotten that stuff done in a week. She'd have been hounding them constantly.
I'm leaving that one alone. I've never met your wife, so I'm not going to touch that. Recommendations were provided by the OIG in June and have been resolved, but open pending completion of the planned actions. This was according to that report.
Well, keep up the bang-up job there, FMCSA. You want to keep the raspberries rolling?
I might as well.
Unfortunately, SJ, scams, always ongoing issues, but these raspberries going out to a scam OOIDA was recently made aware of that is looking to hijack DOT numbers from truckers.
That's kind of the bad thing about scams. It's like once you think we know about this, know about that, there's
yeah.
always somebody trying to get over on you.
They just build a better mousetrap, I guess. I don't know if that's the right analogy I'm looking for here. Crystal Minardi, she is a supervisor with OOIDA's Permits and Licensing Department. I talked to her. She told me that scammers are exploiting a recent temporary adjustment by FMCSA for carriers updating their MCS 150 via the manual form. Since the temporary adjustment went into effect, Minardi said her department has received several calls from carriers claiming that brokers have brokers from load boards, requesting a copy of their CDL before accepting the load. Now, scammers, they use the copy of the CDL to change your MCS 150 information, hijacking that DOT number, and that allows them to do all sorts of things. They can go out and they can book fraudulent loads, double broker under your DOT number, and essentially you're to blame and culpable for all of this. To make matters worse, Minardi said not much can be done once a scam like this has occurred, and unfortunately, you may never be able to recover.
It's like this is one of those instances, even a greater risk with that, because like you said, it's a lot of them you can undo or will kind of get your money back or what have you, but this isn't one of those cases.
Yeah, you're financially on the hook for this as soon as it happens. Minardi says she has contacted FMCSA about the scam and encourages carriers to do the following to avoid fraudulent activity. Things like checking their DOT number regularly, be mindful of who you're working with, booking loads directly through shippers to avoid dealing with shady brokers, also vetting all brokers through FMCSA's safer website and by completing a credit check. That's something we offer free to OOIDA members. And also, if you have any questions, concerns, anything that comes up, if you think something's just not right, call OOIDA's Business Services Department. They're happy to help you anytime.
I think a lot of it too is just the fact that you get busy getting your schedule and you want to get your work done and maybe just let something slip through the cracks. But like you said, just a quick call here to OOIDA would kind of alleviate a lot of these long-term problems. So definitely recommend and encourage anybody to do that has any questions. Like we talked about earlier, sour note with the raspberries are still flowing.
Good Lord, have we given any roses yet?
Hey, I mean, I'm sure they're coming, but so far we've been on the raspberry kick. So okay, let's go ahead and just keep that rolling here. These are for a recent survey from insurance company Assurance, another tongue twister there. These are for the states with the worst distracted driving. And according to this survey, half of the respondents in Mississippi as well as New Hampshire indicated they had texted while driving in the last month. So this survey covered a 30-day period, and that's indicated. So take that for what you will.
That's just people willing to admit
exactly.
it too,
So
by the way.
that could be higher, but these are the numbers we have to go off, so we're going to stick with that. In third place was actually Missouri at 49% admitting to that.
There we go, Missouri.
Right, good job. Not really. As far as frequency of texting and driving, West Virginia was the highest of number of incidents at least. Missouri was also in there in the top 3 at number 2, and Texas rounded out the top 3. I don't know if you want to call it a top 3 more, but they were the third highest. Let's go with that. New York actually had the fewest respondents who said they text and drive, as well as the fewest instances of texting while driving in the last month. But obviously, it's the type of place where less people drive, and like we said, this is admitting too. So take these numbers for what you will.
I mean, I'm not a text while driving person, but I will admit I definitely have distracted driving habits. I have kids. They're yelling at me in the back seat. I'm looking to change songs on, Apple Music or whatever the case may be. Like, all of those things definitely contribute to it. And I also eat in the car, too. I'm an eater.
Well, funny you should bring that up because more than 2/3 of this survey's participants admitted to selecting music while driving. So you're in that group.
There we go. I would own up to that, too.
That's actually the most common distracted driving behavior according to this survey. Other behaviors that you may have mentioned as well as checking the GPS, that was 56% of respondents. Interacting with adults in the car is 55%. Eating food, that's you're in the 38th percentile here.
Trying to crush a QPC in my face.
And then interacting with children in the car is actually 21%. So I don't know what that says about more interaction with adults than kids, but again, take that for what you will. And then
They're in the back seat.
Just shut up back there, would you? Yeah. And then making a phone call was 18%.
People still use their phones for that?
Apparently, according to this survey, yes.
I didn't know that.
Interestingly enough, grooming and applying makeup and checking social media were fortunately down the list. But I guess we'll take the small victories in this one. And of note was 1 in 5 of survey respondents admitted to not being aware if their state had legislation banning texting while driving. So maybe we need to all get up on our...
Not surprised that people are ignorant about things, SJ. Well, I thought we were going to go Rose here, but I guess let's just throw a raspberry over the entire Yellow Corp situation. First and foremost are the approximate 30,000 freight professionals, both union and non-union, who are now out of a job after Yellow Corp recently filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy after nearly 100 years of business. Well, I almost got that Smucker's jar on GMA, didn't I?
I know it was like kind of a big ordeal, but just overall, just to put a just in general terms, that's kind of the thing. That's very unfortunate. 30,000, that is an incredible amount of employees that are just, kind of not knowing what the next step's going to be.
That's got to be a tough spot to be in. Some potential good news, though, however, is that Yellow officials are seeking authority to make payments on obligations, including employee wages, salaries, and benefits. Still, a class action lawsuit was filed against Yellow Corp for alleged violations of worker adjustment and of the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act on August 1st. And so, trying to work to get some of those workers at least compensated and have something to be able to go off of.
Well, I know it's a long process. Has been in the news, for a while here, but just when it actually came to potentially closing, then shutting down, that happened, that part of it happened very quick. So kind of just, an out of nowhere thing in terms of that.
Sure. Additionally, a second class action lawsuit was filed on behalf of Georgia employees of the LTL carrier and its subsidiary. So, there is some legal action going into place. Again, the Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing by Yellow Corp, nearly 100 years, in business, for them to kind of shutter, operations almost overnight. Granted, a lot of people saw this coming, and there were some issues going on with Yellow for a couple of months ahead of that, but still never a good thing to see 30,000 people be unemployed.
Well, it's kind of one of those things too where you see it's such a big entity that's going to have definitely a trickle-down effect, not only for those in the industry, but when you start thinking about just prices you're paying for goods and delivery times and things of that sort is going to be, I assume, would see some type of ripple effect for everybody involved.
Well, sure. And then, where does this freight go now? Who's the carrier that these get shifted to now? And is this a distribution that is actually equitable for smaller carriers? So, maybe there'll be some silver linings out of it, but at this point, it doesn't really seem like there's a lot.
Well, talk about those roses. Let's finally get to them. I know usually we're a little bit more positive, but this
was really bringing me down.
Jamie's going to be sad she missed. She's kind of the raspberry queen, if you will. So she's definitely going to be upset that we kind of
the raspberry queen. All right,
but so let's go for a 2-for-1 then, since we've kind of been short on the roses here. We'll start with one of our usual favorites and often talked about subjects, and that is truck parking. The Nevada Transportation Board of Directors recently announced a project to construct truck parking enhancements. This is along Interstate 80 in Humboldt County.
A spot where, by the way, there is not a lot of truck parking. Actually, I believe the exact amount would be 0. So there is 0 truck parking.
Exactly. The officials, made mention of that in this release, was that despite 45% of the traffic in this exact area, being large trucks, there is literally no full truck parking facilities available as of now. The plan calls for 25 truck parking stalls off eastbound I-80 and an additional 24 stalls on the westbound side. So, still
I feel like there's a knee-jerk reaction to say 49 stalls, big deal, but in a spot where there is currently 0, 49 is a pretty big jump. And I think the other thing that you need to consider, and this is something that I've had to retrain my brain on, is that when you generate these parking stalls from nothing, like there are a lot of other expenses that go along with it.
It's not just putting blacktop down.
Asphalt.
I think that's the kind of the assumption. And even myself, I've been guilty of thinking that too. It should be plenty of real estate in this country to put down parking spots, but like you said, it takes more. I believe there is some restroom type facilities, lighting, security, kind of along with this plan that's being installed too.
You gonna give some roses to your girl Taylor Swift before we get out of here?
I'll let you take the reins. You feel like talking about her.
So several media outlets reporting that Swift presented some 50 truck drivers and their crew on her Eras tour with $100,000 bonus checks at the end of the U.S. leg of the tour. So apparently her dad delivered the checks, including a handwritten letter thanking the Show Motion Trucking Company drivers and the crew for the efforts on the tour. Really cool story.
Definitely.
I think everybody likes to be, noticed and appreciated for their contributions. I know, we're going to bring up COVID again. Ever since the pandemic, drivers have been kind of, put more into the spotlight.
Forget about it.
It's nice to see Taylor Swift going, hey, I couldn't have done this without. There was like a ton of trucks too on that show. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and according to the CEO there, they were away from home for about 24 weeks for this tour. So that's quite the task there to leave home for that long.
Mr. Michael Schirkenbach.
I'll let you handle that one.
Fun name to say.
Definitely. Looks like we're out of time, though, for this edition of Roses and Razzberries. For Ryan Witkowski, I'm S.J. Munoz. Landline Now will be back after this commercial break.
Firestone tires are for more of everything.
more miles for every tire dollar, and more confidence in your fleet. At Firestone, we help fleets save with dependable value. Find your local Firestone dealer today at firestonetire.com/dealer.
Ready to make more money? Use a better load board. For a limited time, get 50% off Truckstop Load Board Pro. Just go to truckstop.com/go and enter promo code READY2023 when you purchase Load Board Pro.
It's tested and proven. Burn 2.1% less fuel when you balance all wheel ends with Centromatic. Call 800-523-8473 to get the OOIDA discount.
Landline Now. Welcome back. This fall, voters in Maine will decide on a proposed right-to-repair law. Right now, vehicle manufacturers are not required to provide diagnostic and repair information to vehicle owners and independent repair businesses. Necessary information for maintenance and repairs is limited to authorized dealerships. A right-to-repair law in the state is intended to give vehicle owners and independent repair shops access to that information, tools, and software needed to repair and maintain vehicles. I spoke recently with Mike Harris with FleetPride, a supporter of the initiative in Maine, about what's on the ballot and the issues behind it. Tell us about the ballot issue going up for a vote this fall in the state of Maine. What would this thing do if it passed?
Well, the right to repair is legislation designed to ensure the vehicle owners and independent repair shops continue to have access to the necessary information, tools, software, those things needed to repair and maintain the vehicles. And today, the independent repair businesses are able to download repair diagnostics through the OBD2 port on the vehicle, fix the vehicle, and reset the codes, once the work's complete on the truck, right? Essentially, the Maine ballot ensures ongoing access to this repair information through telematics as well, when or if the OEMs transition away from the OBD2 ports in the future, which is really key to make sure we maintain as an industry that customers maintain access and the right to have their vehicles repaired where they want them, as they do today. I would add the independent repair shops handle a significant amount of volume of today's repairs in the trucking industry, just as they do in automotive, and certainly are essential to keeping America's trucks on the road. Just imagine a world where customers had to wait potentially for weeks on end just for their truck to get in and be repaired. And I don't think that's good for anyone, certainly not our supply chain and not the broader economy. So independents and OEM dealers often and historically have worked closely together, frankly, to support customers, and we just want to make sure that remains the case in the future.
And just to clarify then, this would apply to large trucks as well as to passenger vehicles.
Absolutely, yes, it would. Right to repair has really brought together the independent automotive and independent heavy-duty truck industries together through two major large associations. One is AutoCare, who's very active in this space, as well as Commercial Vehicle Solutions Network, CVSN, and others. Maintaining the ability to support customers and repair their vehicles, whether that's through today's mechanical ports or telematics in the future, that's a common cause for all of us, our customers, those truck drivers, business owners, and part manufacturers, frankly, to rally behind to ensure that availability is consistent moving forward.
Is this a major issue in Maine in particular?
Actually, there are about 40 states since the beginning of this year that have initiated some form of right to repair. So it is definitely something that's spreading across the country because it is such a popular topic and frankly, super important topic for businesses and customers alike to keep the trucks running up and efficient and keeping trucks on the road. So it is beyond Maine. There is a law that passed in November of 2022 or 2020 in Massachusetts, and that's actually stuck in the courts right now. There's some debate going on, but it was passed by a wide majority in Massachusetts. By around 74% of the voters turned out huge in favor of right to repair for these same reasons.
A lot of the people that oppose right to repair have talked about concerns about cybersecurity and the idea that having this information out there makes it easier to hack into these vehicles. How do you respond to that?
Well, today's access is secure based on what the OEMs provide through the OBD2 ports, and we believe that that would continue to be the case in future laws around right to repair to continue to ensure the highest level of security, make sure that is maintained. That's in everyone's best interest. So that is a key part of the law, is to maintain that there is secure access. And really anything beyond that, I would refer you back to the CVSN cybersecurity expert as an example.
Okay. Has there been much in the way of opposition to the ballot measure?
What I would say is there has been some opposition and some of those concerns mentioned, but at the end of the day, I think there's for many years now, the independent aftermarket repair businesses and OEM and dealers have worked together to support customers, and it's our belief we can do that in the future as well.
Was there anything else that you want to add, or you think maybe I didn't ask about, I should have?
No, I think you covered some really key points. Mark, if anything, I would add again that this initiative for right to repair and customers to retain the ability and the right to have access to repairs for their trucks when and where and whoever they'd like to repair the truck in a safe and secure manner is just hugely important for the supply chain overall and the broader economy across the country. And really, at the end of the day, I think it's an important topic for everyone to become more familiar with, get engaged, get involved. There's a number of ways to do that with your local senators. Reach out to your Auto Care Association, your CVSN Association, and we can put you in touch with and connect you with that through that process to get more involved.
Mike Harris with FleetPride, a supporter of the right to repair issue on the ballot this fall in Maine. Hacking remains a concern for critics of the ballot measure. Keith Goebel with Landline Magazine reports that prior to the 2020 vote in Massachusetts, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration shared its concern with Massachusetts lawmakers. In a letter from the NHTSA Deputy Administrator, lawmakers were told that, quote, while the initiative requires the system to be secure, it does not define what that vague term means, nor does it reflect any established best practices or other measures to address cybersecurity risks. NHTSA warned automakers earlier this year to not comply with the Massachusetts rule. The agency cites hacking concerns. Supporters say concerns about cybersecurity are overblown. They add that change is necessary to allow vehicle owners to shop around for repair work and to level the playing field for independent repair shops. Kate Kahn of the Maine Right to Repair Coalition has said the issue is about choice. She said, quote, consumers want the ability to choose where to take their cars and trucks to be repaired. They do not want to be told they can only take their autos to expensive dealerships. Massachusetts voters have acted twice over the past decade to enact and revise the state's right to repair law. In place since 2013, the rule requires vehicle manufacturers to provide consumers and independent repair shops access to the diagnostic and repair information made available to dealers. Specifically, vehicle owners and independent mechanics are granted access to vehicle computer information used to diagnose problems by way of a handheld device plugged into a physical port in the vehicle. The original rule, however, did not permit vehicle owners or independent mechanics access to telematics systems. In 2020, voters approved a revision to require manufacturers that sell personal vehicles or commercial vehicles with telematics systems in the state to include a standardized open data platform. The platform enables vehicle owners and independent repair shops to retrieve mechanical data and run diagnostics through a mobile-based application. Common features of telematics in vehicles include collision notification, vehicle diagnostics, and emergency assistance. Our program is produced by the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, the only national organization representing the interest of professional truckers in Washington, D.C., in state legislatures, and with the regulatory agencies that deal with transportation and highway safety. That's our show for today. We'll be back tomorrow with more. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
I'm a dad,
a son,
a husband,
wife,
I'm a writer,
photographer,
I farm,
I'm a veteran.
I love old cars, fishing,
my kids,
Chrome, and I am
a professional truck driver.
And together we are OOIDA.
OOIDA was founded by truckers to stand up and speak on behalf of truckers. We've done that by combining the individual voices of our members into a single, powerful voice. Protecting your interests, defending your rights.
Join us!
Make your voice heard. Join OOIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Call 1-800-444-5791 or visit OOIDA.com.